Good day, everyone. This is Ria Zaras Verano Lentejas from AB Literature 1, and I will be discussing about the introduction and concept of spirituality. So, the lesson begins with a set of questions we usually avoid. We usually avoid. Those questions are you happy with your life right now? Or do you find meaning in what you do every day? Or it could rather be, have you ever taken these questions seriously? Um, those are the questions that comes up with our mind every single day, or rarely, but still, I think every one of us had asked that questions to ourselves, and those are philosophical questions anyway, and those are connected to discovering our spirituality. These questions push us to look at the part of ourselves that isn't physical or social. That part is the spiritual self. So when we say it's not physical or our body, our flesh, and not our social, how we get along with other people, it is our spiritual self. It is the core of our being. It is what we are, our soul. Um, the module explains that humans have a body and a soul. So, beyond our body, we have the so called soul. The body connects us to the physical world, while the soul connects us to the spiritual world. um, the body natin, ginagamit natin siya every day to socialize, for our needs, while our soul, in nagko-connect siya sa spiritual world natin. It is, the connection of our faith with the Lord or any other entity that you believe in, with all the respect. And spirituality is what helps us search for identity and purpose. Have you ever asked that question to yourself? What is my purpose? Who I really am? So, delving into spirituality, you will get to know the core of your being. Spirituality is described as our core, like what I kept saying kanina. Um, our most intimate and permanent self. Sabi kasi, the only constant in this world is change. We have the so-called soul, our spirituality, yun yung permanent sa atin. Yun yung most intimate self natin. Um, kaya when we love someone, dapat nagko-connect yun soul to soul. Hindi lang basta physically, hindi lang basta socially. Dapat sa soul din natin. It shapes how we understand meaning in life and how we build relationship with God, with other people, with ourselves, and even with the environment. Yun, sa people, sa world, sa environment, yung spirituality, yung nagko-connect, yan yung parang pinaka nagle-link sa atin, kay God. Usually kasi yung spirit, marami nagsasabi, are you religious? No, I should say, I am spiritual, not just religious. Religions are just a set of beliefs and practices, while spirituality is your personal connection with God. Yum, yum. Spirituality is shown through respect, forgiveness, kindness, generosity, service, and prayer. Yan yung mga virtue natin. Yan yung hindi basta-basta may inherit, malelearn yan natin through our growth, as a human being. It's basically the part of us that rises above the drama of everyday life and tries to connect to something bigger. Yung everyday cycle natin, yung usual na ginagawa natin, paligo, kumain, yan yung purposical, yung pag-socialize, pakihalubilo, yan yung pang-social. Pero kung gusto natin magtanong kung sino talaga tayo um, despite our social and physical life, dun yung naglalay yung spiritual na self natin. One example of spirituality is when someone chooses forgiveness over revenge. That's spirituality guiding their lives. Pag mas pinili mo gawin yung tama kesa gumawa ng masama, it's your virtues, it's your values, it's how you shape your morals. That's your spiritual self. And then, spirituality helps people face emotional pain, crisis, or uncertainty. 'Di ba? Usually, nagbe-breakdown tayo, na-stress, na-depress, any other things. It's normal, it's common. Everyone feels that. Though I'm not invalidating your feelings, pero lahat tayo nararanasan yan. So, our spiritual self, yan yung nagdi-deal sa mga ganyang dilemma ng buhay natin. And then, it leads to deeper self-awareness and healing. Self-awareness, healing. Kailangan 'di ba natin i-heal yung mga traumas natin na naramdaman natin nung mga bata pa tayo or even now. Kung gusto mo ma-overcome yun, the guide is to dig deeper or to formulate your spiritual self into a better or a more resilient spirit. And then over time, this becomes a path to growth or personal growth. Kasi pag binibuild natin yung spiritual self natin, nakaka-collect tayo ng morals, mga do's and don'ts, either from the Bible, self-help books, or either from experiences or turo ng mga elders natin or teachers. Para mag-grow tayo, kailangan natin i-forge and i-cultivate yung spiritual self natin into a better and a more effective human being. In short, the spiritual self helps us ask, who am I beyond my social and physical self? And what's my purpose? This is necessary kasi pag di mo alam yung purpose mo, parang walang direction yung buhay, ano? And then, what kind of person do I want to be? Magre-reflect yung ugali mo sa tanong na yan. Kung ano ka ngayon at saka kung yung ideal self, 'di ba? Tsaka yung real self natin sa psychological self. Yan yung distinction. So, it is necessary. This begins our deep dive into the spiritual side of human self. O, kailangan din yan. So, yun. I encourage you all to delve into your spiritual self, not just for yourself, which is necessary naman para sa sarili mo, but also for your surrounding, your environment, the people you care about, and the kind of citizen you are.
Let's continue with the difference between spirit and soul. The spirit, called ruach in Hebrew and pneuma in Greek, which means breathe or breathe of life. It represents a person's connection with God, the life-giving part of the human being, and the source of spiritual strength. Meanwhile, the soul in nephesh in Hebrew and psyche in Greek, which refers to the seat of emotions, thought, conscience, and will. It is the part of us that feels joy, sadness, fear, or desire. In short, spirit is your connection to the divine, and soul is your thoughts, emotions, and personal identity. For example, when someone says, "My soul feels heavy," they are referring to their inner emotional life. And when someone says, "My spirit feels strong," they're talking about their faith or inner resilience. So before Christianity, Filipinos had a rich view of the soul. Many cultures believed that the person had two parts. First, a physical body. Second, a spiritual counterpart that could travel. Terms used across the Philippines include kaluluwa, kararwa, dungan, kalag, kakambal, and ab-abik. Different regions had different names, but the idea was similar. The soul could leave the body. It was believed that the soul can live during sleep, dreams, extreme fear, spiritual encounters, and sickness. This is why Filipinos performed rituals to call the soul back. For, for example, a child who gets scared suddenly might have their kaluluwa frightened away. So, elders call the soul back by chanting or touching the child's forehead. Some communities believe that nightmares happens because of the kambal or the spiritual double wandered too far while the body slept. In Visayan belief, the dungan could even appear as a fly or lizard when it leaves the body. Whatever happened to the dungan was believed to affect the physical body. All this show early Filipinos viewed soul as active, mobile, and deeply connected to daily life.
So today we were diving into a core concept of Filipino spiritual life and ethical life, the loob and its profound connection to prayer. We often talk about personality, but the Filipino concept of loob goes much deeper. The text defined loob as the inner self. It is the heart, character, and the core identity of a person. Importantly, it is considered as the person's moral center. Love is not just your external personality, it is the fundamental truth of who you are inside. In Filipino culture, people are primarily judged by their loob, not just their appearance. This moral center can be good or bad, leading to two types of character. First is the mabuting loob. Someone with a mabuting loob is kind, compassionate, and considerate. Imagine someone who consistently volunteer their time, not for recognition, but because they genuinely feels for others. That is a demonstration of a strong mabuting loob. The second one is the masamang loob or the bad loob. Someone with a masamang loob acts selfishly or harm others. This could be a person who spread hurtful rumors or take credits for someone else's work, prioritizing their own gain over others' well-being. So how does one cultivate strong mabuting loob? So we have four key pillars. First is the discipline or the disciplina. This involves establishing routines and holding yourself accountable, consistent, positive behavior even when it's difficult. For example, a student commits studying every evening from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. even if friends invite them out. This discipline in their habit shows respect for their goals and build inner commitment. So its connection to loob is by exercising discipline, you show your inner self that your moral compass and goals are important than momentary desires or distraction. Second is a prayer or the dasal. As the text states, this is when the loob speaks honestly before God. It is a practice of centering, seeking guidance, and expressing gratitude. For example, is a person who's struggling with anger takes 5 minutes every morning to sit quietly and sincerely ask for the patience and wisdom to treat others with kindness that day. So its connection naman to loob is prayer provides clarity, healing, and inner peace. This helps the love to get recognized and restores your focus and inner goodness. So the third one is sacrifice or sacrificial. This is the act of giving up something of personal value like time, comfort, or resources for the sake of a higher moral good or the benefits of others. For example, is a young professional uses their only day off to visit and care for an elderly relative who lives far away, foregoing a relaxing day of rest or a fun outing with friends. The connection naman ito sa loob is sacrifice proof to your inner self that your compassion and love are powerful enough to overcome the desire for personal comfort. This act purifies and strengthens. Number four is the self-control or pagpipigil sa sarili. This is a restraining of impulses, emotions, and desire, particularly those that could lead to harmful or selfish action or the masamang loob. Example, a colleague wrongly accused you of making a mistake. Your immediate anger impulse is to lash out and defend yourself aggressively. Instead, You take a deep breath, remain calm, and respond rationally and respectfully, choosing peace over emotional outburst. And yung connection naman ito sa loob is self-control allows the wisdom and compassion of the mabuting loob to guide your action, preventing the loob from being weakened by the destructive emotions like pride, envy, and rage. Let's end this with a concrete example. When a person is overwhelmed, maybe they just failed an exam or they are facing major life crisis and they choose to pray instead of panic. Their loob get recognized. They become calmer, more grounded, and more understanding. In essence, prayer is a path to returning to God, renewing the loob, and restoring inner goodness. This concept of loob shows us that true strength and character come from the inside, nurtured by honest prayer.
Viktor Frank and Theory Ways of Meaning. Viktor Frank, an Australian psychiatrist, believed that meaning is not invented, it is discovered. He said, many people experience an existential vacuum, a feeling of emptiness or purposelessness. When this happens, people often the void with pleasures, constant busyness, addictions, power seeking, anger, and destructive habits. Frank proposed the three ways to find meaning: experiential values, meaning through experience. This is the most common experiencing love, beauty, kindness, or deep relationships. Example, you feel meaning you feel meaningful when someone genuinely loves and values you. Second, creative values. Meaning through what we create, you find purpose through work, art, writing, music, invention, and personal goals. Example, a student finds meaning through writing poetry or creative art. 3. Attitudinal values. Meaning through how we handle suffering. Even when you can't change the situation, you can choose your response. Example, a person with a chronic illness finds meaning by staying hopeful, inspiring others. Frank says the highest form of meaning is self-transcendence, going beyond yourself, your age, your fear. This often leads to spiritually and deeper connection to God.
Religion is defined as a system of beliefs, behaviors, and practices that connect humans to a higher power. Every culture has religion. It helps people answer big questions like why I'm here, what happens after death, what is right and wrong. Mental health, happiness, emotional stability, family strength, values development. Religion also forms communities, teaches moral values, provides emotional support, and guides people through major life events. Rituals are repetitive action tied to the supernatural. Example include sacraments, pilgrimages, and cultural ceremonies. In the Philippines, harang in the Visayan, fishing communities gives thanks for harvest and safe voyages. Kanyao in the Cordillera unites the community and appeases spirits. Buklag of the Sobanin honors ancestors and asks for blessings. Rituals reduce fear, bring people together, and strengthen in identity. Magic can mean illusions, but in anthropology, it means ritual meant to influence supernatural forces. Magic is used for protection, healing, truth seeking, or revenge. People turn to magic to find a sense of control when life feels unpredictable.
For our next topic, which is about witchcraft. So, what is witchcraft? Witchcraft, commonly known or understood as kulam, is a traditional Filipino belief where individuals known as mangkukulam can inflict harms to spiritual powers. Originating in pre-colonial times, it involves sympathetic magic using personal items like hair or clothing to link injuries to victims, causing sickness or misfortune through spells and rituals. Targets are often believed to be wrongdoers, and countermeasures such as symbolic are employed to deflect course. Kulam reflects deep-seated cultural belief about the interconnectedness of physical and spiritual realms, existing in a legal gray area while experiencing a modern resurgence among younger generations seeking to reconnect with their heritage and explore alternative practices. Haviland 2007 mentions that witchcraft serves as number of functions in society, just like religion and magic. He said that witchcraft provides explanation of inexplicable like illness or natural disaster, as well as allow a community to come together. In the Bible perspective, the Bible strongly forbids fortune-telling, witchcraft, calling spirit of the dead, sorcery, relying on omens, using magical objects. Why? Because in Christian viewpoint, possess that anything taking precedence over God constitutes idolatry. With practice like magic, witchcraft, and harmful rituals seen as diversion from the core commandment to love God wholeheartedly and to love one neighbor as oneself. While acknowledging the richness of Filipino tradition, it is crucial to recognize that not all practices inherently foster spiritual growth. For us Christians, God alone is worthy of adoration, for He alone is the one true God. Such acts, contrary to this, such as ascribing power to amulets, magic, and other mentioned above, are considered idolatry and therefore unacceptable. It is a violation of the very first command of God. I am the Lord, your God who brought you out of Egypt where you were slaves. Worship no God but me. This further made clear in Jesus Christ's declaration of the great commandment of love when he said, when what he said. The passage emphasized that the ultimate aim of spiritual practice is to foster a closer relationship with God rather than to distance oneself from the divine presence. This implies the need for discernment when engaging in cultural or religious activities, encouraging individuals to critically evaluate whether those practices align with their spiritual values and beliefs. In essence, the focus should remain on cultivating a deeper connection with God and embodying principles of love, compassion, and service towards others, rather than blindly adhering to the traditionals that may hinder genuine spiritual development. This involves a conscious effort to prioritize practice that nurture the soul and draw one attention and devotion towards the divine, while avoiding those that may lead to spiritual stagnation or division. At the end of the day, the meaning of life is found in a relationship with God, a relationship with others, our inner transformation, and the love we live out daily. And that's all. This completes our presentation.